Hello everyone, I'm Jerry Tabatt with another edition of our military community. You know, since Michael, that's been 6 years ago already, the bases around here, Navy and Air Force, have been growing leaps and bounds, and especially at Tyndall Air Force Base, so many changes, and we're going to talk about all the updates that's happening over there today. And joining me this morning to talk about it is Col Christian Bandit Bergtholdt, who is the commander of the 325th Operations Group at Tyndall. Colonel Bergtholdt, thanks for coming in today. I appreciate that. But before we talk about this, why have you been called Bandit?
Yeah, it's a long story.
Okay.
The short version is that I broke my collarbone playing rugby in Australia with the squadron.
Okay.
So I was a one-armed bandit.
All right, well, that'll work then. Now that we got that out of the way, tell me a little bit, sir, about yourself, your military career, so that the people out there can get to know you a little better.
Yeah, you bet. So I joined the Air Force via the Air Force Academy. Went to pilot training. First operational assignment was up in Alaska, and then I transitioned to the F-22 and was at Langley and then Holloman. Went to school at the Naval Command and Staff College. Spent some time at CENTCOM headquarters in Tampa. Went back to the Raptor, and then went to Air War College, if you will, and came back to Tyndall after a brief stint at Headquarters Air Force.
And I guess you didn't realize when you came back to Tyndall what you were in for, but you've only been in command over there. You placed Colonel Watkins on the 1st of July, right?
Correct, yeah.
So you've only been there a few months, and is you seeing the transition as you look at it, is it going pretty smoothly from the day you took over till now? Because Tyndall is growing leaps and bounds day by day, it seems.
That's right. In terms of construction, I'd say it varies day to day how much pain you experience, either with traffic or just dealing with various road closures. By and large, pretty darn smooth considering we are rebuilding the entire base while also operating from it.
And that's kind of a double-edged sword because you're bringing more aircraft in. You've got to have the support facilities for it. And it seems like at times you got to battle about getting supplies and things into. How do you put all that together so that you don't tear out your hair?
Yeah, fortunately, I've got a great team to help do all that. So we've got somebody that essentially is overseeing that construction project itself, and then obviously my team that is focused on executing our mission.
And that construction project, let's talk a little bit about that, because you can't bring personnel, you can't bring aircraft in without the infrastructure to support it. How is that going? I know because you're trying to get the operations side of the base, you're trying to get the military side of the base where all the offices are, you're trying to get housing going. How do we tie all of that together, and where do we stand on that?
So a couple different pieces there. I'll start with housing. Tyndall is we're not at our peak housing capability. There's more need for housing than the base can currently provide. There's a section of housing that we're working on getting rebuilt, but that's held up in litigation. The good news is in the community there's quite a bit of new construction going on, which is helping with that. Going forward, I hope we're going to expand by 200 to 300 additional houses in the coming years, but we'll see how that plays out. In terms of the base construction itself, we are operating out of some permanent facilities, and then quite a few of our units are having to use temporary facilities as well while their permanent facilities are being built. And we're kind of at peak pain or peak construction, depending on how you want to define it right now, and we will see that construction taper off. By this time next year, we will probably be about 80% done, and then by late 26, early 27, pretty much done with all the construction that needs to be done.
That's going to be a big feat to get done, depending on the weather and everything too. But as you go through this now, what a lot of people don't realize that as you're putting this plan together, building the building and stuff, you have to start building this stuff now to hurricane codes, right?
That's correct, yep.
So how do you deal with that? Because I know it takes a little while longer to do something like that.
Yeah, so all of our new facilities are being built to Miami-Dade hurricane standards, so built to resist 165 mile an hour winds, which really is going to make the base pretty resilient against future storms, and offers us a lot more opportunities going forward.
And one of the things that's going along with that, in fact, this has just been out in the news the last couple of weeks or so, you're building this big retaining type wall over there. What is all that about?
I think you might be referring to the oyster beds that
Right.
were,
Yeah.
so that's in conjunction with the, I forget which organization it is, but we're essentially looking at taking advantage of what nature can provide in terms of protection against storm surge during storms. So in this particular case, it's reestablishing oyster beds that used to be present in the bay. And like I said, that's going to help protect against storm surge in the future.
And one of the things that we deal with there in construction, and if you haven't been out to the base lately, traffic is ridiculous at times through there. Thank goodness they've got the overpass almost ready to go. I don't know if it's open yet, complete or not, but adding to some of the problems we have out there is Mexico Beach, Port St. Joe, they're all building rapidly and putting in a lot more people. You got Apalachicola that's getting ready to build. How does this all mesh together in there? Because the traffic is horrendous, especially between Tyndall Air Force Base and Mexico Beach. You got a 2-lane road. You don't have the 4-lane convenience.
That's right. The overpass is a little bit of a pain point. It's been delayed just based on some issues there, but I think once that opens up, it'll be quite a bit easier to navigate through. The other issue is that we are in the process of closing some of our high-use gates that get access to the base, and that's creating an additional backup. I think by March of 2025, we'll be in a much better spot as those gates are both open and traffic can move a little bit more freely.
So people just have to be patient when there's things like that coming around.
Yeah, be patient, be aware that it may take a little extra time. Apologies for the backups. And,
that's building. You can't do anything about that. But I want to back up just a little bit. You talked briefly about the housing for the military families. Are these all going to be built up near the marina? Are you going to, like, just as you go over the bridge on the left there where there used to be housing, are you going to build all that? Where are the big housing units going to be for families now?
Sure, yeah. The area that is just over the bridge on the left, that won't be rebuilt just based on its proximity to our flight patterns and the airfield. We've got 2 neighborhoods that are essentially fully rebuilt or almost fully rebuilt, and then there's a third one where the civilian company that owns the homes is in litigation, and that's taken a little bit of time to get squared away. I think the Air Force is going to pay to have those homes rebuilt and then turn that over so that we can move forward.
In addition to the families, you have to take care of the single airmen that come in also. How's that construction going? Because I know some of them out there that have been there for a while are getting sick and tired of living in a tent.
Well, there's no tent living, so that's the good news. Our dorms are set to complete here in the next couple months, and they're going to be pretty darn awesome. Really, Tyndall is going to be the most modern base in the Air Force for quite some time. No other base really has had the opportunity to start from scratch like we have. So I think the airmen will be pretty happy with the new dorm facilities they have. And
as you bring in all these personnel, families, single airmen that are coming in, medical care. I know when I first got here to Tyndall back many years ago, we had the nice hospital and everything. What is the plans for medical facilities there? Because also you have to not worry, but we also have this huge retirement population here in Bay County that is used to going out there and getting meds and things. So what's the plan for the med group out there?
So the med group, the hospital's still there, and that facility, it completed its refurbishments just a few months ago. So they're fully operational. In terms of where the med group goes with the Air Force writ large, we're in the process of restructuring where that lies. But what I anticipate is in the next 6 months to a year, the med group will leave the wing. It'll be its own tenant, and they will report to the Defense Health Agency via an intermediate kind of Air Force structure. So that's all being restructured, but still seeing retirees and processing their prescriptions and things like that.
But people, again, they have to be patient. Does it look like, and I don't know if you even know this according to the plans or not, but as a hospital, is this going to open up into a hospital with beds again and facilities like they used to have?
I don't anticipate that happening.
Okay.
I don't anticipate that.
So people need to think about that.
That's right.
And also on the construction, kids need a place to go for school.
Yeah.
There's rumors one day about Tyndall being rebuilt completely, another day about it just being the way it is, and another day, well, maybe we'll close the school. You know, dispel all these rumors,
Yeah,
and what's
you
going to
bet.
happen to the school out there, because we've got a lot of school-age children in the military.
We do. So in conjunction with Bay County and Superintendent McQueen, we are actively working to provide Bay County a site for them to build a new school just down the road from their current location. We're obviously going through quite a bit of the work that's required prior to that, the environmental impact and the noise contours that would affect the school. So that's kind of where we're at now, but we are pushing as hard as we can in order to make that happen.
And happen it will. I mean, it takes a lot of hard work and everything, but again, there's going to be some families watching this that maybe just coming into town and everything, so, and they have those concerns, you know, my children, where am I going to live, where are they going to go to school and that. And when it comes to the housing itself, is there agency on base that helps if the housing is not available for the military individual and the dependents, that will help them get settled in the community?
Yeah, so the Military Housing Office helps military members when they're transitioning in. One, they can help them get on the wait list for on-base housing, but they can also point them in the direction of resources for off-base housing as well.
And I know the base exchange and the commissary took some damage from Michael, but that's all pretty well rebuilt. Is that all back up to 100% operation and everything now?
Yeah, the exchange and commissary, they're, like you said, some damage, but those facilities itself won't be rebuilt per se. They are refurbished and in operation. Good working order.
All right, so it sounds like the construction's going good and everything, and the facilities are soon to be available for everybody, which leads us again, the mission of Tyndall.
That's right.
It changes. What's the current mission, sir?
Current mission is as it was a year ago. It's to project unrivaled combat air power for America.
Okay, and aircraft coming in all the time.
That's right. So we just got our 15th jet on station earlier this week, and they're going to be flowing in through next summer when we expect to have 26 F-35s on the ramp.
So that takes a lot of people too, a lot of personnel and things like that, to support personnel itself. And speaking of the F-35s, for those of you that are watching or listen to this now, very fortunate next week, the week of November 14th through the 17th, when the Vietnam Wall at Heels comes to town, the Memorial Wall, I've been able to arrange, we're going to actually have 2 F-35s fly over during that ceremony, the opening ceremony. So are you going to fly one of them?
I will not be, unfortunately. I would love to, but unfortunately not.
They won't let you do that. But that's just some of the things that, you know, people have not seen the F-35s in flight or anything like that, because you're just now going and you just finished a big exercise and everything out there. How's the community response been to the added congestion at Tyndall, the added personnel moving into town? How has that worked with the community?
So unlike some places in the U.S., the response has been that people are happy to have jet noise back at Tyndall. And like you said, we just finished up checkered flag, so there was a lot more jets in the sky this week, and people were pretty excited to see all the traffic flying around. By and large, I think people are excited that Tyndall is back on a good track after Hurricane Michael.
Yeah, and it helps the community heal too from what we've all went through there. I know it was a big shock to me. I spent several years out there briefing pilots out the old base ops building, and one of the days when I went out with a tour with the Chamber of Commerce, all I saw was this pile of dirt. And that's what a lot of us old guys are starting to remember, what it used to be, and now it's all going to be modernized and everything. So that feeling that, hey, it's not over with, it's still going to continue as we go along through there. Military personnel and civilian personnel, that continuously grows too. I know you can't give exact numbers or anything like that, but once everything's fully operational, say within the next 18 months, how many military personnel do you figure on having, and how many civilian personnel do you think will be on the base?
Broadly speaking, for both military and civilian personnel, about 6,000 folks work on base. That's inclusive of the 325th Fighter Wing, but also of our tenant units, and we've got about 20 different tenant units that work at Tyndall. In terms of growth, we will see a few hundred more people join the wing in the next 18 months. But really, the next big step is going to come in 2027 and 2028, and that's when we expect to set up our second and third F-35 squadrons.
So that'll be a lot of improvements coming in there, and a lot of people. There's been questions too about the FAM camp. Is that going to stay pretty much where it's at, and so people, because that's a great place to go.
It is, yeah.
Family in here and everything.
Awesome opportunity.
All right, you've only been there at Tyndall for just 3 months now in command. From the time you were here before until you're here now, what impacts or what lessons do you think Tyndall has learned and the government in general has learned from the effects of hurricanes? I mean, let's face it, we had a lot of damage here.
A lot of damage. Hurricane Michael, obviously pretty significant hurricane. Tyndall took the brunt of it, obviously taking a direct hit from it. From a practical standpoint, in terms of the strength of our facilities, obviously that's a big learning point, especially if you account for changes in weather patterns. So we're going to get that obviously with the rebuild. And then in terms of how we prepare for hurricanes and how we message to people how to prepare for hurricanes, that's all pretty important as well.
And you work very, very closely, of course, with the county safety officers and all of that too. There's been a lot of successes since Tyndall started the rebuild, and you've had some yourself. Let's go through and name. Say, what's your top 5 things, sir, that you think have really been a great success and that you're really proud of since you've been here?
Sure. So what people may not know is that I was here 2 years previously as the operations group commander, and then just took the wing here in July. I'll go with starting from July, so taking the wing. We've got an awesome team at Tyndall, and we are transitioning from an F-22 training mission to an F-35 combat mission. So those two missions, both extremely important, but require 2 very different types of skills and practice. So one, very proud of the team navigating that change while also rebuilding the base and dealing with all the things that come with rebuilding essentially a small city. The second one is that in transitioning to that combat mission, we've got to practice. And given the threats that we face today from China and Russia and Iran, we need that practice now more than ever. So the team is very focused on us transitioning to that combat mission and practicing it. So very proud of the team, excited about the team we have and where we're going.
Now, one of the things too, you're talking about threats and things like that, and we can go ahead and talk about this. Let's dwell on the fact for just a minute here that we've just reelected a new president. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's a totally difference between one way of operating for defense and another way for defense. How do you think that transition is going to go, sir?
To be honest, we in the military, nonpartisan, really don't care who the commander-in-chief is.
Exactly.
Commander-in-chief is the commander-in-chief. We swear an oath to the Constitution, and we're prepared to execute the orders we're given.
Money is going to be one of the big things that's going to be hard to come by. What are some of the upcoming things that you can foresee that Tyndall is going to need to get a lot of extra money for, be it construction, be it training, be it aircraft, whatever, from the federal government? What are you going to have to really try and get from the federal government right now?
Sure. We're working to tie up some loose ends for funding some of our construction, some things that may not have been accounted for. I think we're going to be successful with that. But also, like I mentioned before, we need to exercise and we need to practice a mission that we weren't really practicing previously. So that's going to take a little bit of money and help to get us to that place where we can practice to the level and intensity that we need to.
And one of the other things that a lot of people, they hear about it every once in a while, but they don't realize that you've got a tenant organization there on that base that takes care of the Gulf security. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so 1st Air Force is one of our tenant units, and they are part of both Air Combat Command, but also Northern Command, which is responsible for the defense of continental United States.
And do you do a lot of training with them also as far as out there in the Gulf?
We do a little bit of coordination with them, but their mission is much larger than ours. They have a much larger scope, whereas we are kind of focused inward on training our own personnel. Obviously, we bring folks in for specific exercises as well, so not so much.
Okay. One of the other things, this is a big recreational community here. That Gulf is wide open with boaters, fishermen, shipping, all kinds of things. Is there any conflict at times with all the training you do? I know you got the drone missions you worry about, you've got the air-to-air training and that. How does that all get coordinated? Because a lot of times someone with a boat thinks that Gulf's wide open, I can do what I want. But
Sure.
there's certain restricted areas that they can't go into.
For boats, not really any restricted areas. We're able, for us in the 325th Fighter Wing, largely unaffected by the boat traffic. Now, because the airspace we use is shared with Eglin and their various wings there, a lot of coordination to make sure that we can get done what we need to and they can get done what they need to. So that's all coordinated kind of centrally, and we kind of duke it out and share amongst each other.
Duke it out. I like that. I like that. What's some of your current priorities? What is let's just say the top 5 things that you want to get done now over your tenure here?
Yeah, really it's 3 priorities is what I've told the wing. First is that we're lethal, and that doesn't just mean the ability to break things and do bad things
Sure.
to bad people, but it's about standards and adherence to standards. It's about kind of a warrior ethos. And then finally, job competence. So those 3 components really are going to help us be lethal. Agile is the second one, right? We've got a fast-paced world. We've got a threat that is using different means to inflict damage, and we ourselves need to be agile as well in order to kind of get around that. And then finally, ready. Ready deals with a whole range of different issues, but for the individual, it's physically, mentally, spiritually, if that's part of their ethos. It's ready airmen and families as well, so making sure that we're taking care of our family. I know Bay County does a big part of that. Yeah, so those are really the broad priorities.
Yeah, and you do
lethal, agile, ready.
Tyndall and your personnel out there, sir, they do a lot of work in this community, be it charity work, going to events and things like that. Number one, why is that important to get that interaction in the community, and what are some of the things that you guys do to interact with the community?
Just by nature, we're service members, right? So
Sure.
A great number of us have a desire to serve in our communities as well, not just in the military. And we often have a special skill set where we can help out. And even if we don't have a special skill set, there's a desire to give back and to support the local community. The reality is we get that returned in favor from the local area as well.
And you know about that too, and I've been here in this area since '79, and this community loves their military.
That's right.
And we realize that if it wasn't for the military working here, Bay County wouldn't have a lot of different things going on that they do. As you go through the next several months now, we're going into the winter period and everything, visitors coming in, what are some of the ways that they can find out what's going on at Tyndall? Because say the snowbirds coming in from Michigan, they know that Tyndall's bringing in F-35s, it's all over the news, and they say the first thing they want to do is stop along the road and take pictures. What are some of the areas that they can go see? How do they get information on it and things like that?
That's a good question. Obviously, we've got a Tyndall Air Force Base website and a Facebook page that they can go to and kind of see what's going on base. And then there's obviously we don't want people stopping on 98.
Exactly.
That's not safe. But there's some areas near the bridge where people can stop and kind of see the fighters taking off and coming back to land.
Now, one of the things I'm proud of, and I know you are too, and if you'd expand on that a little bit, Bay County Chamber of Commerce, Military Affairs Committee, I'm a member of both of them, and Tyndall is an adequate and an integral part of that Why is it so important to work together like you guys do?
Yeah, a lot of overlap there. One, we're members of the community, right? So we live here, we shop here, we eat in restaurants, and so we're obviously a big part of the economic vitality of the area. And then vice versa, we have people in the community that have worked on Tyndall for decades, and that's not going to change. So there's a mutual, I can't give you the great word for it, but mutually beneficial relationship there. And we realize that Bay County wanting us in the area helps us stick around and do our mission, and vice versa.
Well, it also helps you too in the fact that getting to know a lot of the different people in the community like this, they understand the needs at Tyndall. And a lot of times the federal government is good. They can take care of you in certain ways, but you have to rely on the local area for things that it could be supplies, it could be, extra communications or something like this. So that's very important to realize that local interaction is something that a lot of people watching this interview don't realize how much interaction there actually is between you and the military and the civilian community.
That's right. Great deal of interaction. We're not an island. Obviously, we're not staying behind the gates. We're out and about, and we like to show our mission off when we can as well.
As we go through time here now, what are some things that, as we head towards the holidays, I know when I was a single airman, we always missed our families. Is there anything that you would think that the community could do to help out the single airmen there at Tyndall to make them feel like they're part of this family too?
Yeah, what we do in the military for our single airmen that may not be able to make it home is that a lot of people open up their own homes for Christmas or Thanksgiving, and they'll host as many as they can. Some airmen take advantage of it, some don't, but that's probably a way or thing that we can explore in the future.
All right, we're getting close to running out of time here. We got 2 minutes here. I'll give you about 1:30 here. What's your final thoughts on what's going on at Tyndall?
Lots going on. We've obviously talked a great deal about the construction and where that's headed. Talked about traffic. Sorry about the traffic. It's the cost of growing.
Progress.
Cost of progress. Just very excited about the team we have. Excited about our mission and it growing in the coming years, and just excited about the support we get from the community as well.
And that support's going to continue to grow. And if someone wants to go out to the base and take a tour or something like that, I know you have a great public affairs office out there. How do they just contact that office and talk to them, or line up a tour or something like that? Yeah,
they can contact public affairs office. Those numbers again are on the website.
And have a great time out there. All right, sir, we're about out of time here. I appreciate it. I'm glad you came in today and gave us the update. Thank you, sir, and appreciate your service from an old Air Force guy to a young Air Force guy. We enjoy this. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for this edition of our military community. Again, let's remember that those young men and women in uniform are just like we are, and a lot of us have worn that uniform. So let's not forget that it takes all of us to build this community, and Tyndall has been a great partner in this community along with the Navy base. So let's show our appreciation for the military, and don't be afraid to talk to them. They're there, they can explain things, and if you have any questions, give a call out there, go online, and you'll get the numbers where you need to go. All right, folks, this will do it for this edition of our military community. Have a great day, everyone, and we'll see you again next time.